So you guys have been longtime Aspen owners and C120 owners, and we've got some new drawings of a 45 footer, and we wanted to kind of, I think you guys have all gotten copies of those at this point. And it's sort of a mix of, you know, how do we use that extra space if we stretch the 40 out to a 45? And kind of what I had heard through a group of owners and other customers was, you know, we had been talking about doing the 52 footer. And for some of those guys, that was a little too big. And I think you guys might both fit into that category where 52 might have been a little too big. And of the guys that still want the 52, I think that if we were to offer a 45, I think quite a few of those guys would probably switch down. Probably half the 52 guys would probably buy a 45. And I think that it also opens up the market for guys that have a 40 who don't want to take that step all the way to 52 feet. And so that's, you know, Chris and I went to lunch the other day and we got to brainstorming this. And Chris, you're going to kill me. This is going to cost me $1 million, just so you know.
I don't know if Chris is still on.
I think we lost Chris.
Yeah.
Oh, bummer.
Enter the waiting room. Admit. Okay, so there he is. He's back.
Chris?
I'm back.
Oh, you're back. I was just saying that you and I went to lunch a few weeks back, and this new idea may cost me $1 million.
Yep.
So let's put one of the, let's go for some of the first drawings and just kind of see if we can talk through those. So let's just start with a profile drawing, the one that you've got there. So this was done by Mike Schott over in Port Townsend, and essentially it grows the 40 up a bit. And I mean, Amanda, this is your first view. What do you think of it, Amanda?
It looks just like the 40.
Yeah.
To me, I mean, it looks beautiful.
Yeah, I like it a lot. What do you guys think?
All good.
The profile, it looks, yeah, I think from the outside it looks great. I mean, like I think it'll work great.
Yeah. While we're on this shot, what do you guys think of dinghy on the flybridge or not?
I'm probably a dinghy on the flybridge guy, and I think Chris is a dinghy still on the back guy, mostly because I think Chris's dinghy is going to be a lot heavier than mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, I've had both setups. As long as from moment of roll perspective, it doesn't adversely affect to put all that weight up on the top side, which I know it's been a concern in the past, Larry. If that's not a concern, I wouldn't be against sitting on the top side. I mean, it is kind of a pain not to have your swim step when the dinghy's knocked down. And I know we use our boat in the off season a lot, and we don't usually put the dinghy down in the off season much because we're usually marinas.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, I'm good either way. I would say I've got very little strong opinion one way or the other where the dinghy goes.
So the issue that I see with the dinghy on the stern, and I'm dealing with it right now. I've got a guy that we're building a 40 for, and he wants a 12-foot dinghy with a 40-horse motor. So we're actually extending the hull on the port side, well, actually both sides, by about 24 inches. And when the dinghy's on, it'll float beautifully, but when the dinghy comes off, it's going to float about 1.5 inches stern up from what it normally would. So there's kind of a trim issue. When the dinghy's on, it'll float beautiful, and it won't look as good when the dinghy's off. And at this 45-foot range, I kind of like the boat to sit nice all the time. If we put the dinghy up on the flybridge, I've watched guys do that, and they may be anchored in a calm area, and then a boat will go by that they weren't expecting, and they'll have the dinghy swinging back and forth while it's halfway up. And I watched one guy break the windows out of his 45 Bayliner doing that one time. And some customers, Mike Miller, one of our owners who's got a 35, he charters bigger cats, and he's also had some unacceptable frustrating experiences trying to use the davit up above. Amanda, you've had some, what's your view on that?
I just say for ease of use and deployment, always on the back, easiest to get up and down.
Easiest
Yeah,
to get
if you can make it, I understand with the weight distribution areas, and remember, I'm in South Florida, so I don't think about seasons of when you use a dinghy and when you don't. We always use the dinghy, you know? So it's like, why would you ever put it up there? You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. It's a bit of an operation to get it up. But
yeah, I would say for me, anything, all things being equal, I would say being on the back is a little bit better for me. If all things, I mean, it is a little easier to drop and bring back up, and you know, you're not walking around to both sides of the boat with, you know, along the gunnels to like do the ratchet straps, and it just takes a while to take a dinghy down from up above. I from experience in the Nordic tug, so I didn't mind it. So.
Chris, would you want a bigger dinghy than you already have? You have what, a 10.5-foot Walker Bay right now. Would you want a bigger one for this new boat, or would you keep it?
I think mine's pretty good the way it is. I mean, I think that when looking at options, we had to give up the forward seat because one of the davit lifting points is where the front seat would go. So if I could have the front seat, and if I could, I mean, go from a 20 horse to a 30 horse, which is the max it's recommended for, I add like 20 pounds. I don't think I would go for a Chase Fulcher type dinghy, but I would probably, you know, my dinghy no longer planes all three of us together, and I think a 30 horse it would.
Okay.
So, you know, I would probably add somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 to 50 pounds if I had a choice, but you know.
John, would you on a new boat this size want to keep your current dinghy size, or would you want to go bigger in a console and all of that?
No, I think actually, Larry, we primarily, the way we use the boat, you know, we're on the hook a lot, and we usually use our kayaks instead of the dinghy. Okay. So this last 10-week trip, I think the dinghy, it's almost like I have to put the dinghy in the water to run the damn motor, just to make sure that it runs enough, you know. Right. So and it can be, you know, when it's really sloppy, like I was in East Sound and it was, you know, 2 and 3 footers, you know, and I got to the back of the boat and you know, putting the dinghy on the present Davin system in that kind of situation is exciting. And, you know, and whereas it's a little easier for us to get in and out of the kayaks for some reason, you know. So we just take them off their harnesses and throw ourselves in, and usually we're not. We very rarely go to marinas, so it's mostly just using the kayak. Right. I would actually consider, although we do like the fact that it planes with 2 of us, and even with my daughter in there, if I get the girls to lean far enough forward, I can get the plane, you know, even with my little 9 horsepower, just because the boat's light. And but I would actually consider, you know, going to a rowing kind of boat and not have a motor at all.
Maybe not heavy. You could that'd be a lot less hassle if you did put it up on the flybridge too. What would you need all that space on the flybridge for if you don't put a dinghy up there? It's just going to be a big patio?
Yeah, exactly. Or I could also see taking the motor off if I had a winch where I could pop the motor off and put it on the back rail and then put the whole dinghy up top. It's just, you know, it's really, when it comes right down to it, we just don't use the dinghy as much. In Alaska, sometimes we do adventure things with the dinghy. So, and that was fun, but that's kind of an event, right? So I could spend an hour getting ready for the event and spend an hour getting unready for the event, you know, whereas the kayaks we use all the time.
Yeah. So for me, the dinghy is that adventure tool. And I you know, I mean, to me, almost the big boat is the vehicle to get there. And then I want to go up in the Squally River Delta or the Similkan River or, you know, some fjord, or I do a lot of weird things with my little dinghy. What about in the Bahamas, man? What would you think?
The dinghy is definitely. And if you can get a larger one with the access to the center console, that's what everybody likes to.
Really?
Because they anchor out and then they go into the marina or off to have a restaurant or a dinner excursion, and they want something with a little bit higher freeboard so they don't get soaked.
Right.
And that bigger dinghy with the console offers that.
Right. So more along the lines of what Chase has got coming is a 640-pound dinghy that's 12.5 feet.
Right.
And
you have to deal with the davits breaking in the hydraulic system up there and all of that. So
those are not very reliable, and
they're being fixed all the time.
what about the power swim platform that goes down? And
that's much better.
That's a nice way. Again, it's a ton of weight though.
Right.
And complexity as well.
Mm-hmm.
Do they seem to last okay, or?
Yeah, the electronic ones do.
The hydraulic lift?
Yeah.
That would be, I think that would work for me too. I mean, having it in the back would work. How long overall would the boat get if you did that?
But the length would be the same whether it's a hydraulic lift or not. It's just a matter of that whole lift thing itself weighs 500 or 600 pounds. Mm-hmm. And then you'd have the weight of the dinghy too. So on a monohull, it's kind of an okay thing because there's all this reserve buoyancy in the back. It doesn't. With a catamaran, you're kind of pulling it down.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess, are we really concerned about the trim of the boat when the dinghy is off? Is that a big deal if the stern floats up a bit?
It's actually a little better for me. Yeah, it wouldn't be for me either. It's a little better. I had the experience the other day getting the stern stuck in the mud because I was playing it really, really close on the morning tide. So it'd be kind of nice if it was a little higher.
Yeah, sure, right. I guess how you can rock off the mud, right?
Yeah. All right.
Well, I just didn't start anything, and it was really cool because you could see the seals under the water, because the water was so shallow around the boat. It was beautiful.
That was at low tide, huh?
Yeah, low tide. It was the south side of Misha, I think. Mesha. Yeah, the south side of Mesha. There's this little. It's maybe 150 foot
cove.
wide.
I've been there.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And we stayed there for a couple days. It was so gorgeous. But I did get a little carried away with how far I went in to put down the hook. Yeah.
All right. So it sounds like we kind of want to keep all options open. Some folks may want the dinghy up, but it sounds like this group, Amanda, everybody's in this group kind of feels like stern is the best.
Stern is the best, and leave the flybridge because that's where everybody goes up to party is on the upper
it's
deck.
A better view.
Yeah.
And Chris, could you live with that, or what do you think?
What, dinghy up?
No, to do it on the swim platform, but have the option to go a little bigger.
Yeah, no, I can live with that. Can you go a little bit bigger? And I would probably favor the stern. And if we could go a little bigger, I'd be happy. And if the boat trimmed a little better when the dinghy was on, because my boat is a little stern heavy right now, but we don't have pots in mine. But
well, we could upgrade your boat this winter for you.
But I'm not going to do that if I'm going to get another boat.
All right, let's go to these pictures of what do we do with the space on the interior of the boat, and see if Steve can get us to there and kind of talk about this. So let's go to the first one, backup one.
This is the first one. This is concept A.
Okay, so this is concept A, and so basically you come in and the dinette is kind of where it is right now. And the extra 5 feet forward of the dinette can be a countertop, or it could be another part of the galley if you want. You could put the refrigerators underneath. Although if the refrigerators were on that side, they would be making noise in that stateroom. There would be a little bit of refrigerator noise that would be more than where it's at right now. But in that model, if you look down below here, look, the guest stateroom is, basically 8 inches wider and 5 feet longer. So you've really got a big space down there now. And, we would mock this up and kind of play with what happens in that space. But what's your guys' impression of this one?
I'm definitely a fan of a bigger entry to the queen stateroom. We've had adult guests, a couple on board Mohana for 4 days, and it's really tight the way it is now. Mostly because of, I think, mostly the entry. I mean, it's not that much headroom in the bed either, but it'd be really nice if the guests had a little bit more storage, a place that they could stand up and change, and really have a little elbow room. I think that would really be a big plus for anyone looking at a boat too. So.
And that bed now it'll be halfway to a king size bed in width, which I think is better too.
Right. Yeah, no, for sure.
And there's a conversational area up above that we don't have right now with that love seat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's a reasonable layout. What did you think, John?
I'm more set on the 2-chair design than this. For me, we do have guests on, but it's just not. It's mostly Terry and I maybe and one kid, or Terry and I and maybe 2 of the kids.
Right.
But it's mostly T and I. So for the most part, for us, the 2 chairs seem really like it just makes more sense for us.
And Chris, you like this layout?
The 2-chair layout, I don't like that for a couple of reasons.
No, this one we're looking at, which is A.
Oh, A. Yeah, I actually like that. I like that. I'm not sure I need a full extra double freezer. And the noise, that's a good point. But like the Days have a freezer where the old microwave used to go, just a one pull-out freezer.
Right.
I mean, something like that I would probably do if I was doing a boat new. And if there was a good, especially with that extra length forward of the dinette, I would definitely do that.
That's a great idea. Put a freezer there.
Just an extra freezer, just for deep freeze, like a bunch of meat if you're on a long trip, that kind of stuff. That would be great. But
and so you'd have 2 freezers and 1 refrigerator in that model.
Yeah, I think so. And maybe there might be enough room for a dedicated freezer and like almost a drawer, like drink fridge. Just a small one, not nowhere near like the fridge you'd use for all of your normal food. But
right.
I mean, that's all details. That's all easy.
We could sound deaden that so not too much of the noise got into the sleeping area. Amanda, what does this design look for you? How does this layout look to you?
I think it looks better. I think more of a charter and more guests in my.
Seems okay.
And it looks great. I think it is really great.
Okay.
My favorite thing about layout A is that you have a love seat kind of across from the dinette. And our use case would be like we meet friends or people we know at a marina somewhere. It's like come aboard, have a drink, and and a couple can sit side by side and really socialize with the dinette.
Right.
And you kind of lose that with 2 chairs facing each other that are lower than the dinette after it for us. So.
Right. Well, and it's interesting because from a tooling viewpoint, once I have all the liners and deck molds and stuff done, I think I can make the deck modular so that I can give you this layout and I can give John the other layout. So the one thing that's interesting here is to get to the big storage area, you go down into the quarter side on the port side, and there's because of that extra length now, that stateroom gets bigger, and you've got a much larger kind of a closet storage room underneath there, which would be great for long trips for storing food and foodstuffs and stuff like that. That's a neat area. This design doesn't give us much access to the new storage area underneath the queen size bed on the starboard side, but that's how life rolls sometimes. I don't know how you don't want to take the bed apart. The one thing that it does do is underneath the foot of the queen bed on that side, I can move the fuel tanks back about 2 feet, and then you've got a room for luggage and duffel bags, or it could be a big, teak cabinet with drawers underneath the foot of the bed on the starboard side. What do you think of that, Amanda?
I like because you're going to move the fuel.
Yeah, I can move the fuel back
Further and underneath the pillows
underneath
Yep.
this bed.
And then have more
And then it would
storage.
be just a big, huge, could be like throwing stuff underneath your table.
Yeah, and then you know what? And when people travel, they can put their suitcases and things there as well.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So
No,
Go ahead.
I will never complain about more storage.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
open bigger spaces. If you can leave it open and maybe not just drawers,
Yes.
a nice big space where someone can stuff something,
yeah.
that's
Okay.
always necessary on a boat.
All right. Okay, let's go to the next one here. And I think I can build 2 of these. I could probably offer 2 of the 3 designs. I don't really want to offer 3 designs. So now this is the one where a lot of the guys that I talk to, that have 40s right now, this is what, it's more of what John kind of likes, where you come in and you've got 2 separate, really comfortable chairs. There's 1 or 2 tables that could pull down, so you've got a space. So a lot of the guys run their businesses, remotely from this area, and this gives them a place to sit and read or to get on their computers that's not the dinette table. Gives them a place to watch TV, so really quite a bit of flexibility. It's a different design though. I mean, I don't know and then what happens here is
You
the
lose the,
guest stateroom doesn't get any bigger, it just gets wider. But you end up with a whole seating area there as you come through the door.
and you lose the counter
It's
space.
also also worth noting though that the guest stateroom in the current 40 has really good cross ventilation because that aft hatch vents to the outside of the boat.
Right.
And in this design, your only fresh air is going to come from one plane, not from 2, planes at an angle to each other. So there is that. I think that at least
on the new 40s,
Yeah.
we've put in a vent on the floor in the salon with a super quiet fan that pushes cool air from the floor of the salon into that guest stateroom. And then there's fans on the other side that pull it out. So you get a cross flow in that stateroom that wasn't there on the original boats. And it actually works pretty great. I've slept there with that, and you can't hardly hear the fan, but it doesn't have that kind of stuffy thing that you can get. So there is, it's not as good as having a window open, but yeah.
Here, guys, I gotta plug my pad in. I'll be right back.
Okay. What do you think of this one, Amanda?
for me, the larger entry to the Queen, more than, well, actually, there are 2 things I don't like the 2 main things I don't like about that second design is that the extra recliners don't really socialize well to the dinette, and the Queen stateroom isn't any bigger. So, I mean, it's sort of like, that one's kind of a non-starter for me. That doesn't really solve any of my problems.
Yeah, I wonder if the port side swivel seat well, it doesn't make for you, it doesn't make the guest stateroom bigger, but you could put a love seat on the port side there and just have 1 swivel seat, which could be a desk area. And then, but again, it doesn't make the guest stateroom bigger. So I think some customers are going to want, some flexibility. It really isn't that hard for us to build it either way. Any thoughts on this one, Amanda?
To me, it looks like one's an owner's version and one is a, more people version. So if it's just like John was saying, him and his wife most of the time, I would love this version with swivel chairs. We could both kick back, read a book, chill, but you're losing counter space, you're losing.
But the counter's already huge. It's 17 feet long on the port side.
But if you want to lay out a tray, and I'm thinking charter.
Right. Okay.
So if you want to lay out a tray of hors d'oeuvres and people walk past, it's gonna be laid out on that other side, that starboard side counter space.
Right.
You add
Which is nice.
more refrigerator space as well.
And the guest stateroom is bigger.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's what people are gonna look for in charter more so than the owners. But
Right.
if I were an owner, I would want this version.
Yeah.
Right. I think that second version is great for a couple that rarely has guests and is mostly just them.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The one advantage to this one, though, is that we don't want to forget about is there's that huge storage area underneath that starboard swivel lounge. And so, that's
probably not very deep because of engine and tranning, right?
It's not very deep. What?
not very deep because of the engine and tranny underneath there.
Well, that all goes back. I think that's all basically, well, it's been, we've got some sketches of that. I'm not sure if Steve's got them in the presentation, but let's go to the next layout and just sort of bounce through it real quick. So this one is dinette aft. It still keeps the big stateroom. It ends up with a lounge in front of the dinette, and then a swivel seat and a desk over on the port side. Any thoughts about this one?
I think that's a good. I mean, I think that's sort of a good compromise for someone who wants a desk. I think that if I think of that chaise as being kind of the only extra seating you get, it's a little bit kind of, I mean, it looks like there's kind of a back, and it kind of, you can lay with your feet up if you face forward, but that doesn't let you converse with the dinette. So for a social setting, I think it's a little bit of a, not perfect, but not terrible. It's definitely an improvement.
Right.
And it gives a desk to someone who wants a desk, you know, instead of a love seat aft. Like, I could see that being, I mean, I could see that being an option. I can see people wanting that.
So think about that. That chase lounge, when you're going somewhere, gives you another place to sit and put your feet out and face forward while you're driving down the bay. And it gives you another, a lot of people don't like facing backwards while they're driving along. And for guests, that might be kind of cool. It does give the owner that's got to run his business a nice spot to do that. That's not the dinette table.
Yeah,
So
I could see that being something that some people would want. For me, I know that, like, we don't need more forward-facing seating underway because we don't usually have more than 3 or 4 people underway. And oftentimes it's on the flybridge, and we have plenty of, and actually I find that people don't mind being facing aft on the flybridge.
Right.
So, you know, that wouldn't really be that much of a concern. And I want to optimize for less when underway and more for when you're not underway, which is, you know, that sort of social aspect. And that one's not as good as the first design for me.
John, what do you think of this one?
Yeah, I honestly didn't really totally understand why you do it like this. Also, you know, so I wasn't a big fan of this one. I saw the first one that Chris likes. I get that. I completely get that. This one, I just plain old didn't get. You know, I didn't get the big. I guess you could do a skylight in that big blank spot over the guest. You know,
you could. Yeah.
But that's
that anyway, because that's the galley area. You might need. Why not have more light in that guest stateroom?
Yeah, absolutely. But this is a really big space, and so that seemed odd, and it just you know, the way we live, you know, we do a lot of cooking on the boat,
right?
So to have that chaise there, I mean, I could see me throwing pots on it or something because I didn't have, you know, I didn't have.
You could sit there and supervise Terry cooking.
No, I'm the cook.
Oh, she can sit there.
Yeah, she can sit there and supervise.
With a glass of wine.
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, it just seemed, yeah, I just didn't get this one at all. It did, this one didn't, and the only, you know, maybe, I just didn't get it. I didn't get this one.
All right, Amanda, what do you think of this one?
I would love this model, honestly, if that chase lounge was counter space and more refrigerator space.
Okay, and just keep the swivel in the desk
Yep.
and call it
Keep
good.
the swivel in the desk.
So you get the big tape,
Yep.
get the big stateroom.
And I do like the idea of having that area be a sunlight to the second
the
VIP
area
cabin.
down below, Yeah. What about the width of the salon there, where you kind of got the big tan or brown flooring area? I mean, that's going to be a foot wider, 18 inches wider than the current boat. Well, it'll be more like 8 inches wider. That is shown 8 inches wider. Do you guys like that?
Yeah, it's good for
absolutely.
we use the boat because a lot of times we're both, you know, T might be doing prep and I'm doing cooking, and we're running back and forth and around each other and stuff. And so it's nice to have that little extra space in there.
Okay.
It is, yeah, the current boat is very tight for people to pass each other in between the sink and the dinette. It's you can do it, but
It's way bigger than my 32.
Yeah. And if you've got the drawer pulled out or something like that, because you're getting something, you know, then it's pretty. And then we have 2 German Shepherds, remember, you know, so.
Right. All right.
Yeah, I like
Let's
that.
go to some of the down below photos or drawings, which may not be as relevant. I think we probably not do this. Well, yeah.
Finish back to A.
So I think if we were to, I think we offer A, and then with B, it's not a lounge. I mean, again, it could be if somebody wanted it. Really wouldn't be hard. I could offer all 3.
Well, what you could do is with going back to option C, where that swivel chair is, have that be an option or for that or the love
lounge.
seat.
Or the love seat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I think, because a lot of people who work from their boats from home will want that desk area.
Right.
Just
Dedicated
have that
desk area.
section
Yeah.
an option.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, probably.
yeah,
half
it seems
the owners
the easy option to offer the desk versus the love seat option on.
Yeah, it's really easy.
And I think that both of those make perfect sense for different owners.
Yep,
Yeah, and I
absolutely.
think I'd rather just offer it with the countertop and the extra galley space. And
Yes.
call it done. Don't do the lounge. It is kind of weird. I think everybody doesn't like option C very well.
You know, with the kind of like this, it's more better, you know, if it, and then you just have the option to put the chair where the love seat
Right.
is.
Right.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
Right, and so that would be kind of our new option A, and then B would be, B would be this layout. I think we're gonna have a lot of people want that. That's actually what most people have asked me for. I know Joe Lungwitz would like this one, and I think there's several owners that would really like this kind of a super comfortable chair. And these chairs are in this design on a platform that has wheels on one side, so you can grab it and roll it into the middle area and open a hatch to get down below and store electric bikes and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's
and they roll back in place.
I really like the idea. I just want to go back a little. The idea of the swim platform that sinks down and the dinghy's on that rather than having the winches. I really like that idea. I think that would be super. So
yeah.
I think a lot of people would, and it would make this right now, you know, if you're having a bunch of people and we're sitting around in the cockpit, it's just not as cool when the dinghy's on and sitting there, you know.
Right.
And with it down, and then I'd also be able to get to the locker in the back there. That, I mean, you know when the propane runs out, right? You're like cooking pasta and it's like 5 minutes from done and it dies and it's turning into paste, you know? And so I'm running outside, I'm unclipping the dinghy, and then I brace myself between the dinghy and the outside cockpit, and I can get it open and then I have to stay there. And then Terry has to run up and get our spare.
We have a side loading storage area for the propane in that bustle. If we keep the bustle, because the bustle is going to go up and down with the swim platform, my guess, or I don't know. I mean, because if we don't get the dinghy up over the bustle, then we've got trouble. Maybe we should do a side loading propane storage locker where it just goes in horizontal, or it's just some sort of door on the side of it you can get to.
That would be okay. I'd go big, or I'd go double up. So right now I always have a spare propane tank, and I keep it up on the fly bridge, you know, tied to the probably the.
But maybe we could do 2 of them side by side with one of those switch valves that they use on RVs. And
yes,
then you've got so, and maybe that's the only thing you have to do is a little pie you unscrew so you can get to the switch valve. You don't have to, you know, then to do your solution, it's 2 propane bottles in there, and it's one or the other. And if you're going to switch them or fill them, you do take the dinghy off. Maybe it's easier just put a door. but you can get them out from the side, so you don't have to take the dinghy off it, you know. I think I like the door better.
Yeah, and having two, my Airstream has two cans up front, and with that little dial that you can go back and forth. And it also has kind of a gauge. The gauge really isn't good. You know, it's usually, it's all red or all green. That's the only colors I've ever seen it.
They don't work.
Yeah. But still, at least it reminds me which one I have on, you know?
Right.
So.
Yeah. No, that's true. Okay. Steve, do you have the little real crude drawings in here that we did that show the profiles underneath and how the machinery goes and where the generators go? They were, I might have them in my office, but see if you can find them. There's 2 or 3 drawings of that. I think they're in here.
I want to stop screen sharing. Stop share.
Ooh, people.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
See if I can find those documents.
So you're looking for what's underneath there. So what size motor are you guys thinking about?
Volvo D8.
D8.
600 horsepower. Is that right?
Yeah. It's a
So-
600 horse. I can't find it, Steve.
I still won't be able to get down next to it, will I? Probably.
That's the
That's
one,
it?
yeah. Maybe you won't get next to it, but you'll get your whole arm and shoulder around it. It'll feel a lot bigger. 4 inches on each side is a lot.
Yeah, no, that will be better. I mean, I do feel like I've become very intimate with that motor.
So this is port side with, so this is the current quarter berth here. And we sort of moved, in this idea, we moved the generator in underneath that recliner or love seat. And the waste tank is in there too, which gives you a great big storage area in the cockpit for electric bikes or something like that, because we didn't think you wanted to drag electric bikes inside the boat. Chris's concern here was that we need to make sure there was some ventilation in that area so that it was dry enough that what you put in there didn't corrode. And I think we can do that.
Yeah.
We have to put a positive fan in there to move some air around.
I mean, yeah.
Pretty steady.
My concern is, like, currently I've got stainless steel tools that have completely rusted in 2 years, even in an enclosed space in the cockpit. So, it is a very, very moist marine environment. I would not put an electric bike that is going to rust. It's not meant for marine. Whereas if there was a big, kind of garage door aft of the quarter berth and it was not really exposed to the outside air, I would feel a little more comfortable, because in the winter I run a dehumidifier, and I can keep the inside of the boat, pretty salt free and pretty dry. But in the current design, both those aft cockpit spaces on my boat anyway, they get very, very salty and very, very moist. So
right.
That's
well,
my concern.
I think it's a ventilation event, Chris. I mean, I think we can solve that problem, but the one advantage here is that we move the waste tank and the generator forward 5 feet, which lets us float the bigger dinghy that we kind of want on the stern too, without a change the bulk. So there's a weight and balance study we have to do here. And maybe we leave it the way it is, and you access that storage either from underneath the love seat. And frankly, if the love seat was to be kind of an L-shaped door where it lifted up, you might be able to just go straight down into that with your bikes inside the boat, instead of, so you move your recliner out of the way, which isn't going to be that hard, and a big gas hatch that's right there, and you drop the bikes in there, and it's inside the bulkhead, and it's in your dehumidified area. It might work okay. Although you're gonna be carrying your bikes inside your teak cabinetry and everything like that.
Yeah, things will get nicked up. But this is probably a good time for me to mention one of my asks is to have a industrial type dehumidifier integrated into the heating system. So right now, my dehumidifier weighs probably 60 pounds, and I have to heft it all over the, I have to put it away and take it out and
Right.
put it next to the sink, and then I run a vent all the way up to the bedroom from the galley area, and that way it circulates the entire thing, and I can keep the boat pretty dry like that during the winter when we're only on the boat, a few days a month.
Chris, are you using one too?
Yeah, I've got a portable dehumidifier, probably similar to John's. It's like a little R2D2 type thing that you can. I put it up on the just forward of the sink and have it drain into the galley sink.
Yeah.
When I'm not on the boat in the winter.
But it's super. Mine's really all of the good solid ones are wicked heavy, and
yeah, it's pretty heavy. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah.
So
and
dehumidifier part of the heating system.
yeah, that would be so cool. And I don't know whether other boat builders are doing that or not, but you could easily do it with a little forethought.
The thing is also they're doing is they're putting HEPA filter systems in.
Yeah.
Just so that if you have guests that are sick, that that you're not sharing them around. Yeah.
Well, a HEPA filter would help with some of the off-gassing of some of the materials too.
Okay.
Especially if it was a HEPA filter with charcoal, that would be great. And just thinking about ventilation, it sounds like you guys are thinking more about ventilation.
Right.
That's always good. I mean, one of the amazing things about the Airstream, Larry, is I get on there and it smells great inside that trailer. It never smells like plastic. And they do a big thing about the materials not off-gassing, and it's really nice. And I do have to run a dehumidifier in it, and unfortunately it's not integrated there either. So I'm lugging around another one over there. So
I'm just making a list of everything we've kind of touched on. Skylight over the starboard berth. That's a good idea.
yeah, and you'll keep the skylight over the starboard head, right?
Yeah. And we'll still have to figure out if the machinery space can go forward or out. What were some of the other ideas we had? HEPA filter, dinghy on the stern. Hydraulic swim platform.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't have to be hydraulic.
No, it can be electric.
Maybe it could be an electric with cables.
Yeah.
And we can figure out a way to do it so it's not so heavy. The ones that I've seen mostly have this huge arms, and it's like they don't care what it weighs. We need something that works, but isn't too heavy. What other kind of we bounced across a lot of things here. I want to make sure.
Did you get the options? Yeah.
Yeah, I got which it's kind of A and B, not so much C.
But then maybe the love seat or the swivel chair.
Yeah, love seat or swivel chairs.
So where do you think you'd hang the TV? So one of my questions about the version with the two seats is it really reasonable and feasible that you could, rather than put the dining table down and sitting on top of the dining table, that you could sit in those chairs and watch BoobTube together?
Right. What do you think? The current TV is forward, and I think we can make it so the port side can swivel in a point where the chair can pop up. You can have a footrest and sit there. The starboard side, I don't think you can. It's only 5 feet long. I don't think you can get the footrest to pop out and face forward. The other option I thought of is that we, you've got a seat here, and we basically have a screen that, or a TV that folds out of the ceiling from either side. So you're facing each other, but there's a screen above. It's kind of unusual, but I think it would work just fine.
So you're looking to the right or to the left in order to.
You have two TVs that are 19 or 22 inches or something like that. That just
Oh,
fold down.
two
you have one on
TVs
both
down.
sides. A little weird, but it sure works.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not optimal. So there must be there isn't any other way you can think of it.
Well, not if you want to be able to recline your seats, that space is 5 feet longer. And I don't know, we can do some testing to see if, because you want to be able to sit with your feet out in front of you, not down.
Well, the other problem with trying to have one TV in that layout B is if you look at the current C120, the aft end of the dinette at the top of the backrest is probably 4.5 feet above sole, and if you have a recliner that's somewhat low, you wouldn't really be able to on that port side or that starboard side, you wouldn't be able to see really very easily over the back of the dinette to where the TV exists currently. And so it's just that's another reason why that layout didn't appeal to me. But
yeah, I don't know. I mean, the two TVs things would certainly let you watch TV.
Seems so weird though. And
you put the TV over the port swivel deal, and when you watch TV, you have your starboard side swivel chair is out and comfortable, and the rest of the people that want to watch TV are sitting in the dinette. Would that work?
That could work. So you're saying it would be above here,
Right.
and then
Above the kitchen?
And everybody can watch to the port side.
that's fine too.
Yeah.
That might be better. Yeah, that might be better.
A lot of people can sit there. That would definitely be better, I think.
Right.
You could almost move this swivel chair to this part of the.
Yeah, and if you really wanted
the swivel
to.
chair out too, because it's got wheels on it.
Yep. But
Yeah.
that would be the place to put the TV, the one TV.
Right, if you want one.
What happens to us is frequently we'll watch a movie during the evening or a lot of times now with 5G you can get streaming all over the place, so frequently we'll watch something during the evening, and it involves us always taking the table down and getting the cushions out of the quarter berth, putting them on the table. And then when we have guests, you really have to like the guests, because you're all like sitting, you're basically all in bed together,
Pretty much. Yeah, that's the way it goes. That's the way it goes.
So it's the idea is to be a little bit more comfortable than that, and so.
But, you could. There's no reason you couldn't put a 32 or even a 42-inch TV above the port swivel, because with the stairs there now, you can put a big TV there, and and then use the dinette and the swivel there, and you could easily pull the swivel chair out into the that big space in between. You could put a smaller TV on the starboard side if somebody wanted to sit there, but maybe that's not necessary. When you start with, that, you could also leave the current TV over the helm seat, and somebody sitting there could see the TV from that TV as well.
Yeah, I don't want to mess with the two TVs. I don't think. I think that I think I like your idea of the having it over the quarter berth. That and especially having it a little bigger and a little closer is all good too.
Yeah. I think that works fine.
Yeah, that might.
Right. I mean, and I'll say I've got a slightly different problem than John and Terry do, because I don't have a dinette currently that converts to a berth. And so I find that the depth of the seats in the current U-shaped dinette are really not wide enough to lay down on. And the dinette's not long enough for aft wise to lie down on. And I guess if I could convert it to a berth, I could. But it'd be really nice if we could rethink the design of the dinette, which is kind of the current dinette is constrained by the space of the C120. And now that we have a little bit more space, I don't think we need to make the dinette as compact as it is. But that's just another sort of side.
So what you're saying is to trade some of the new space in the guest stateroom for a bigger, longer dinette.
Yeah, I mean, just, maybe more of a
new space and make the dinette 10 inches longer. Running forward.
I'd love the dinette. I'd love the dinette to be instead of a really deep, shallow view. I would like to make it more of a slightly longer L. I mean, it'd probably be only like a foot longer. But the seats would be deep enough to lay down on, so you wouldn't have to convert it to a berth if one person just wanted to face forward on the long side of the L and take a nap or put their feet up. You wouldn't have to convert it. That would be a really nice thing that we don't really have on the 120 now.
Right, that's a good
So
idea.
we could stretch the length of it forward, pick a number, but it's basically anytime you make that longer, it makes the bedroom down below, at least the overhead of it, shorter.
Right.
A little bit.
Yeah, that is.
And
I get that. There's some
going from, it's going to be huge compared to what it is. So to put 10 inches of that or 12 up in the dinette length, fine with me.
Yeah, that might be nice.
How does that work on B? Does that work on B too? Or you can't, or there's no space for it?
I don't know if there'd be space on that, but the one thing I would note though, if the fore aft part of the dinette was deeper in terms of space to lie down on, the encroached headroom would widen in the. I mean, right now that sort of it's only about 12 inches deep, that seat, and in the current queen stateroom, as you're facing in the door, basically that right 1/3 of the berth is covered in a much lower headroom than the other 2/3, and you could push that full headroom all the way across the berth if you made the seat deeper. You couldn't just make the seat deeper just on that one leg of the current U. So I think it's worth thinking about if you had a clean slate, could you come up with a design that was better for both the dinette and the queen berth than what we currently have in these designs. But that's just sort of my other little pet peeve. I'd love to be able to lie down and take a nap on the dinette.
The next step here, once we, and I'm going to share this with the people that have, all the customers that have been interested in this design review. And we'll build, the next step is to build full-scale mock-up of this whole thing, Chris, just like we did with the first 40. And we'll all get in and walk around and test it. And but I don't see any reason to not stretch the dinette forward 10 inches on this layout. For option, is this option B?
This is option A.
Option A, yeah.
And for B, I think you want to keep those, that one, I think that's a 5-foot width of the area where the chairs are. And that will make it feel, more like a living room. If I kind of mocked up with my chairs, I have similar chairs to what I think we ought to do at my cabin. And if you didn't have the 5 feet in length, it didn't feel quite right. It felt tight, and I don't want this to feel tight. I want it to feel real comfortable. So John, this gets him everything he needs, and he doesn't have guests that often. And I think, I really think you have two different groups. Some folks have gobs of people with them all the time. And, for Kathy and I, we don't normally. So we would probably go for this design too. So it's all.
With the TV over the port quarter berth, I like that. The other thing, we'll probably, in terms of how this meeting's going, so I sent a bunch of asks. And will we get to those?
Sure, let's go.
Like as we go
better living room, 2 chairs. We've done that. Better cooking experience. There, you've got a much bigger. You want a bigger stove, huh?
I would love to actually. You know what I'd love to be able to do? I'd love to be able to make pizza in that oven. And that's not happening. Actually, the broiler is really difficult to really use.
Hey,
For
John,
anything
John,
but
I can hook you up to my friends Quentin and Liz, who just bought a C90, and they make pizza in their C90. So.
Oh, really? How did they do
Yeah,
it?
they've got these ceramic things that they bought.
I have to ask them, but they're cooks.
But
they
I'd
figured out
love
a
to
way.
have a real. It would be really nice to have a more of a real stove, so that I'm not juggling. I can't really put a frying pan and a regular pot on that stove. And I didn't look at force. It's force. Is it force 10?
Yeah.
That's what we've got. Yeah.
They make
Yeah.
bigger
I don't know
ones.
how big force 10 gets.
This is kind of their average size. They go bigger, and you can get 4 burners and a bigger oven. I mean, you certainly get bigger for sure.
It's just it would be nice to have it be a little bit more, because a lot of times I'll cook for 4. Sometimes I cook for 5 or 6. We'll have folks over just for dinner. Or
put that on the list of when we build a mock-up, we'll do a little research, and if you want, John, give us some ideas, bigger stove oven, and we'll buy one as for our mock-up and then use it in for stove.
That'd be awesome.
I
But
mean,
and then
just
Chris, do you need a bigger one, or you think we should make that an option?
For me?
Yeah, is the stove oven big enough? Or
If it was, I cook a lot. If it was an option, I would probably go for it. I'm not like, we're used to sort of, when we go boating, we think of it as kind of like RV camping. Like we're kind of like not quite our home kitchen, but the closer we got, the better it would be. So I mean, I would get it if it was an option, but it's not one of my top things I would fix.
Right.
I would fix the dinette over that.
We kind of covered the dinghy, just an extra refrigerator or freezer in the cockpit. Those are the things that I was not going to retool that area, but
I know.
Yeah,
that is a whole tooling thing. I get that.
And John, you don't have the cooler back there right now anyway, do you? Both of you guys don't have that aft cooler.
No, I've got the cooler.
You do? Okay.
Yep. Yeah, and I've sort of screwed around with it a little bit, and I can get through a full 10 days on 4 blocks of ice.
That's good.
And it does work pretty well. But I wonder if it would be even better to, instead of trying to build something, have a place where you could just hold like a standard one, like a Yeti of a certain size, or just slip it in and just make sure it doesn't go overboard, kind of thing. And rather than having to fuss with it, make sure it's as efficient as that. And then people could just get one off the shelf and slip it in there. Or it could come with one off the shelf and with slipped in there. But it seems
super heavy. The better ones. And it doesn't look very integrated. It kind of looks like I don't know. We'd have to think about how to do it so it looked great.
Yeah, you could slip it in so that only the top 3 inches were exposed or something.
Better heads, master check. What's that?
No, that just means you did it. So I think all these designs have better heads.
Way bigger heads. Yeah. All right.
So
So better handling at low speed.
Yeah, this one is going to be a hard one. The only thing I could think of would be a double rudder design. So below 0.5 knots, the boat handles like a brick, basically.
Yeah, but no boat handles if you're not moving.
Not great. It's not great. True. But this boat,
a sailboat with a rudder on it that's like 5 feet long.
Yeah, but I mean, this boat is.
Some of my competitors for a test ride. They're just terrible. They don't steer at all at low speed. But
this one really doesn't either. It doesn't matter where you put the rudder below 0.5 knots. So you're either doing it with your thrusters, or my preference is to do it with my prop walk. So which because I just like playing with the prop walk. It's just my thing. I don't know. Yeah. So You,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Amanda's got a big sailboat too, so she knows how the big rudders work. And that's hard to do. And if,
You guys just, I'm getting into an elevator, so if I lose you, when I might drop off.
okay.
All right.
Yeah, and I gotta drop off anyway, because we're on our way to dinner here.
Oh, no, that's fine.
So,
Okay. So I think we covered everything, you guys, actually. Faster cruise speed. We're gonna get a little more speed with the bigger engine and the longer hull length anyway. So
Yeah. So do you think we'll cruise at 20? That would be my dream.
yeah, you can do that. I don't see any
Wow.
problem. Yeah.
That would be very cool. Well, like at 2,800 RPM or something, or am I going to be at 3,400 RPM?
No, I think the engine's 3,400 RPMs, and I think it's going to be at like 2,800. You should get that.
That would be very, very cool.
Yeah.
That's super.
I cruise
Just
at 19 right now. I don't know what you're,
super comfortable for me. If I'm by myself, I'm frequently at 2,600. Especially if the water's flat. If the water gets lumpy, then I bump it up. And if it's really lumpy, I will put it at 3,200 for a while to just go over it.
Right.
And then, but yeah, I like the sound of the boat better at 2,600. It just seems calming, and it's just so, it hums.
Hums. Less than half throttle. I mean, 2,600 is, that's like 10 gallons an hour, isn't it?
No. I'm still burning. I'm still getting, what do I figure? 1.3 nautical miles per gallon. Is that right? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I'm still in that range. To get, to really get great gas mileage on the boat, you've got to be, 6 knots, and you're burning a gallon, you're burning almost a gallon an hour at 6. So you can go 6 nautical miles, on that gallon. So, but it comes off really quick over, I think at 8 knots, it starts to look like that 1.3, which you keep for an amazing amount of range, that's the crazy part. Because it's really how soon do you want to get there rather than how much money do you want to spend? Because you're at like 1.2, 1.3, geez, all the way up to, I want to say 27, maybe even 2,800 RPM.
Right. Same. I think Chris runs his a little faster most of the time. So, but again,
I remember Dave used to run his everywhere at 3,200, not waffling.
Really?
Oh God, he was always going in. He was just, I swear to God, you could have taken out the throttle and put in a toggle or something. Turn it on. It's just.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah. So, but I like 2,600 is really comfortable if I'm by myself. I can watch everything. I can get up and go to the refrigerator. I don't take a leak because I've seen videos where people. But anyway.
John, this has been great. Amanda, thank you. And what a wonderful idea to share all these ideas. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
We'll move on to next step, I think, is get some feedback from other guys that are interested, and then we'll probably move into a mock-up stage here pretty quick.
Cool.
All right. Thanks, John.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah.
Out.